Hello everyone and welcome to my Research Methods B presentation. And it'll be on the short-term effects of centering. Here we have the definition as sought by Nidafer and another person who did a study that gave a little bit more extensive definition. But more or less every single study that will be referenced will follow a similar approach, but there will be variation how they actually go about conducting their experiment, but they will all be based back on Nidafer's initial definition, as you can see here, which focuses specifically on stomach inhalation, recognizing muscle tension, and then releasing that tension on exhalation in order to attempt to refocus and provide each individual with some physical balance. Now, in going about researching for the topic of centering, I came across some non-sport examples as well as sport examples. And in the non-sport examples, there was an array of different focuses by the authors. The first one, such as where they found an increase in alpha waves and short-term memory. This was done with by Fan and amongst others. And he was able to do this with children, and he did it using the Shroop test. As far as Chan, he wanted to look at geriatrics, and he found in that age group, his main focus was on trying to increase both aspects of their memory, and he was able to do so in age groups 57 up to 78. And for the final one, the focus for each one of these individuals was more in the environments of both cognitive and clinical research. When it came to sports, Nidafer and Segal did a study that wanted to isolate centering within batters who were in pressure situations, such as hitting with men on base. And they were able to better balance their physiological arousal and allow athletes to ignore task-irrelevant stimuli. Hockey was the most common example found in sports, and their focus was only on goaltenders, and the reasoning behind this, as described in the studies, was because not only are the goaltenders isolated, but unlike the other participants in hockey, which is a dynamic sport that allows open skills, goaltending is much more of a closed skill in attempting to save the puck from going into the goal. And during their studies, they were able to conclude that centering was able to help them refocus as well as increase save percentage over time. Now, when it came to basketball examples, there was two examples that I was able to locate. One was where centering was just a small portion of a larger mental skills program that included self-talk, imagery, goal setting, things of that nature. And it was a long-term study of a female collegiate athlete whom found not only an increase in confidence in this mental skills program that concluded over the off-season leading up to her regular season and then during postseason play, but during that time period, her game statistics increased throughout using the mental skills program. And most closely related to what I want to look at, which is free throw shooting in basketball, there was a recent study where 5 Australian students were taken in a 6-week study, 2 weeks to establish a baseline free throw percentage, and then 4 weeks they experienced daily centering exercises, and the authors were able to find that over that time span, free throw percentage increased, with its highest percentage being at the end of the 4-week trial. For quantitative design, as you can see, my purpose right there is for centering and short-term effect on free throw percentage. I thought the best way to do so would be in a cross-sectional experimental approach where I could also get a decent amount of increased participation, because as you see in the other ones, they were a single subject's design and then only 5 students over a little bit longer period of time, being 6 weeks. So it was more intensive. And for this, I thought what would be appropriate audience would be perhaps an elite youth summer camp for basketball players, where obviously games are played and practices are conducted throughout the week. And in doing so, in focusing on the free throw and the free throw percentage, what would occur is my plan would be to have independent variables of centering and the importance on routine when it comes to free throw shooting, and these would be conducted on Wednesday, halfway through the basketball camp. And what would occur is we would randomly assign each member to either the routine group, where they would view a video going through the importance on routine and free throw shooting, and then our centering group, where they would also view an instructional video and have an interactive activity where that focused on centering during the free throw shooting routine. Now we would obviously collect data using their free throw percentage both prior to the manipulation and then afterwards, and just to see how and if changes do occur in this process. Seeing how these are covariables are involved, and ANCOVA data analysis would be appropriate for measurement. And based on the number of attempts that was recorded, I would probably establish a baseline effect that tossed out a certain number of participants who only attempted a small number of shots in the grander scheme when compared to the rest of the participants. In a qualitative design, we would have a similar purpose, being short-term effect, but also you'd have to adjust it a little bit here, and I would like to look at whether or not centering and introducing a centering manipulation would influence the subject's free throw routine. Participants would be the same, and this would be a case study, seeing how it would be done over 1 week time on multiple participants in a summer elite youth basketball camp. The manipulation would be the same, an instructional video on centering. But in data collection for a qualitative study, I would like to focus on, I think would be appropriate, would be having the participants record the process of their free throw shooting routine. And this would be both mental and physical. We would highlight certain columns of what they would want to focus on, whether it be, it would be starting as soon as they receive the basketball, and then it would follow track their thoughts when it came to physical aspects of their routine, and then mental aspects, such as where's my focus on my eyes, what am I feeling, is anything distracting me. External and internal processes would both be measured in this coding. And in order to verify it, we would check with any changes that do occur in their descriptions in this self-log of their free throw routine with both the participants and as well as the camp counselors, to see if they noticed any changes as well. And we could also have a peer examine it to make sure that they were finding similar variation among the collection of results that we gathered. In deciding which one I think would provide more value to the current level of research, I feel as though the quantitative one would do more justice, because I think the quantitative would certainly produce raw results, whereas the other one study did with the free throw shooting percentage that Haddad did over on the Australian youth players in their off season. But this would obviously include competition, which is what I really wanted to focus on, whereas this was just off-season program. It was a little bit more intense. And most importantly for me, I think this would really increase the number of participants, because it wouldn't require much effort from the participants to sit through a video and then just simply shoot free throws. They wouldn't have to interact with the experimenter at all. They wouldn't have to go through surveys or conduct a test. They could watch a short video and then go about their normal routine of a summer camp to see whether or not this would be effective. Obviously, a limitation of this would be the lack of interaction and whether or not it would actually, how much of a change, if we do experience a change, could be attributed to that centering manipulation of a short-term video. And because obviously many things could come into play here, such as the type of environment. It's not exactly representative of their usual in-season experience. Summer camps are isolated to short, brief time periods. And also their history could come into play. They could be just having a poor shooting performance the first 2 days and is not representative of their larger abilities as a whole. And what this would add to, ideally, to the current research would be it being a competitive environment. All other studies were done basically either in an off season for basketball or over a long-term effect, whereas this would be short-term, quick, less intensive experimentation. Also, this would add to the population, whereas the other two studies I was able to find was a female collegiate athlete, and there were youth athletes for the Australian study, and they were all under the age of 12, whereas this one could be a wide range of both participants in age and ability. And we would, as I said, the most important aspect of this to me would be gathering more participation, lead to more conclusive results. I hope this was informative, and I hope you enjoyed it.